My name is Emily. I'm 29 years old. If you asked my parents to describe me in one word, they'd say reliable. If you asked for a second word, they'd probably say practical. I pay my mortgage 3 days early. I arrive 15 minutes before every appointment. I keep emergency contact cards laminated in my wallet like we're all one flat tire away from disaster. I bring extra lawn chairs to family barbecues because somehow we're always short. I am the older daughter, the steady one. My younger brother, Daniel Harper, is everything I'm not. He's charming in a way that feels effortless. Former high school quarterback, the kind of smile that makes waitresses lean closer. He turned that charisma into a modest social media following. Fitness tips, lifestyle posts, motivational captions. My parents talk about him like he's a startup about to go public. Every family gathering becomes Daniel's highlight reel. New brand collaboration, new sneakers, a huge opportunity just around the corner. Proof that we're succeeding as a family because Daniel is shining. I used to joke that I was the opening act and he was the headliner. The joke stopped being funny around 24. That was the year I started working overtime at Henderson and Associates, earning $19 an hour as a junior accountant while still driving across town every other weekend to fix my parents' router, replace burnt-out bulbs, and troubleshoot their Wi-Fi because Dad's arthritis flares up and Mom doesn't do ladders. They never asked how I was doing. They asked what I could handle. 3 months ago, we gathered around my parents' dining table for Dad's birthday. The house smelled like pine sol and pot roast. Mom wore her good blouse from Nordstrom. Aunt Carol fussed with the flower centerpiece like adjusting it might elevate the entire atmosphere. I brought a chocolate cake from downtown, Dad's favorite. Thick buttercream frosting, perfect piping along the edges. Daniel strolled in 40 minutes late. No dessert, no card. Just a grin and a story about nearly landing a sponsorship with a fitness supplement brand. Everyone laughed like he'd won an Oscar. We sat down. Dad opened gifts. A tie from Aunt Carol. A novelty mug from Mom's book club friend. Daniel handed over a small wrapped box. Cufflinks, he announced, winking. Real silver. He didn't mention that I'd transferred him $200 2 weeks earlier when he said he was tight. Dad's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. I don't know why I expected acknowledgement for the cake. That was my mistake. Dad refilled his beer. He looked at me. Then he said it. You know, Emily, you'll never be as good as your brother. He chuckled like it was harmless. Mom giggled. The table joined in. Daniel laughed the loudest. I didn't hear it as a joke. I heard it as a verdict. I put my fork down carefully. My face burned, but my mind did something strange. It calculated. 14 months of covering their electric bill when Dad's contracting job slowed down. 27 gas tank fill-ups when Mom's Honda just needed a little help. 31 transfers labeled groceries because the pantry was bare and Daniel was between deals. I counted like heartbeats. Aunt Carol leaned toward me. Don't be so sensitive, honey. I wasn't crying. I was furious. Mom added lightly, we just want you to be more ambitious, that's all. Ambitious. The word scraped against the inside of my skull. I reached for my water glass. My hand trembled slightly. Across the table, Daniel stretched back in his chair, comfortable, golden. You really are the star of the family, Aunt Carol told him. Mom nodded approvingly. Dad laughed. He's the one we can count on. Count. That word hit me like a physical blow. The part of me that tracks due dates and bank transfers, the part that memorizes account numbers and Wi-Fi passwords, the part that knows exactly when their water filter needs replacing. I didn't argue. I cleared plates. I wrapped leftovers. I wiped down counters. That's what reliable daughters do. When I grabbed my jacket, Mom hugged me without looking at my face. Try not to be jealous of your brother, she whispered. Outside, the porch light flickered. I stood there with my keys in hand, listening to their laughter through the window. My phone buzzed. Zelle notification from that morning. $180 to Mom. Groceries. I'd sent it automatically, like breathing. Another buzz. Mom. Love you. Pick up paper plates next time. We're running low. No heart emoji. No thank you. Just instructions. I drove home in silence. When I walked into my condo, Ethan was on the couch, laptop open, waiting. How was dinner? He asked gently. I hesitated. Festive, I said. He studied my face longer than I liked. You look like someone just told you you're not enough. The accuracy made my throat tighten. Later that night, after Ethan fell asleep, I sat alone on the couch. I opened my banking app. I scrolled. And scrolled. And scrolled. Green check marks. $95. $140. Tries simti divi dismit PSE dollary. $750. Years of quiet compliance. Dad had left a voicemail that morning. Hey kiddo, don't be dramatic, just family jokes. I played it twice. Then I kept scrolling. That was the moment something shifted. The joke had always been on me. The money started when I was 22. Back then, it felt noble. Dad called one scorching July afternoon. Their AC had died in the middle of a Phoenix heat wave. "Repair bill's pretty steep," he said casually. "Could you spot us $200? I'll pay you back Friday." He didn't pay me back Friday. He didn't pay me back ever. But he did call again in August. "We're short on the car payment, just until my next job comes through." Then September. "Groceries are tight this month. Your mom's stretching things." I was living in a one-bedroom apartment in Tempe with secondhand furniture and a coffee table I'd found at a yard sale. I didn't have much. But I had direct deposit. And I had this strange belief that good daughters helped. So I sent $75, then $100, then $200 again. It felt good to be needed. I told myself I was strengthening family bonds. By 26, it wasn't spot us anymore. It was routine. Every first of the month, $250 for utilities. Second Sunday, $90 gas money. Random Wednesdays, $60 to $150 groceries. It averaged about $580 per month for almost 3 years. When their water heater failed, it was $420. When their Camry needed new brakes, my card covered the $380 deposit that somehow became $380 plus $280 plus we'll square up later. We never squared up. Then there were Daniel's emergencies. He needed $300 for a business development seminar. His landlord was being unreasonable about a deposit. He had a slow month with brand deals. Daniel always had a story. I always had a transfer. We never discussed repayment. Everything in my family was implied. Help, gratitude, obligation. Nothing written down, except it was written down in my banking app. I tried setting boundaries once. I told Mom I couldn't send money until I rebuilt my emergency fund. She sighed like I'd disappointed her spiritually. "We'll manage somehow. We'd never want to burden you." That promise lasted 11 days. She texted a grocery list with a sad face emoji. I sent $120 because I knew what an empty refrigerator felt like. Because she always said, "Just this once." It wasn't just money. It was time. I fixed their router, installed a programmable thermostat, replaced their kitchen faucet after watching 3 YouTube tutorials. I drove Daniel to brand meetings when his car was acting weird. I proofread his sponsorship emails. I even let him use my address when he moved apartments to simplify things. Packages started arriving with his name on them. Protein powders, ring lights, designer sneakers. Meanwhile, Mom texted photos of an empty pantry. Whenever I mentioned feeling stretched thin, Dad laughed. "Welcome to adulthood, kiddo." Whenever I brought up fairness, Aunt Carol would say, "Families aren't balance sheets." Except in our house, the balance sheet lived in my phone, and it was bleeding red. Ethan noticed before I did. One night, he found me staring at my banking app again. "You send them money every week," he said gently. "It's temporary," I replied automatically. He didn't argue. He just asked, "Why are you the only one carrying this?" I didn't have an answer that didn't sound pathetic. 3 moments crystallized everything. The first was Christmas morning. I gave Mom a silk scarf from her favorite boutique. She hugged me politely. Daniel handed her a spa voucher he'd received free through a promotional deal. Mom cried. Actual tears. Later in the kitchen, I found a sticky note near the sink. "Emily, Venmo $200, short on mortgage, XOXO. The second was when my car's transmission failed. The mechanic said $1,900. That same week, Mom texted urgent about their overdue electric bill, $290. I chose theirs. 2 weeks later, Mom posted Facebook photos from a wine tasting weekend. "Much needed girls' trip," the caption read. I zoomed in on the champagne glasses until the pixels blurred. The third moment was Dad's birthday. "You'll never be as good as your brother. Count." That word echoed for days. So I did. I counted everything. One Saturday morning, while Ethan was out grabbing coffee, I opened a spreadsheet. I started with July 15th, 2020. $200, a C repair. I moved line by line. Utilities, groceries, car repairs, Daniel's rent, workshops, gas. I reached $31,840 before I had to stand up and walk around the room. $31,840. That's a down payment. That's freedom. That's security. That's sleep at 3 a.m. without calculating due dates. Ethan came home to find me sitting on the floor, surrounded by printed bank statements. He didn't ask what I was doing. He just sat beside me. "How bad?" he asked quietly. "Over 30,000. He inhaled slowly. "Emily." "I thought they'd notice," I whispered. "I thought at some point someone would say thank you." He reached for my hand. "They notice," he said. "They just expect it." That night, Daniel texted, "Hey sis, you free? I'm $350 short on rent. Would ask Mom and Dad, but they're tight right now. I'll pay you back when my next brand deal pays out. You're the best. I stared at the screen for 10 full minutes. I typed, "Let me think about it," then deleted it. 3 days later, Mom texted, "Need you Sunday." Dad looked at the bills, and it's not pretty. "Bring your checkbook." "Bring your checkbook." I screenshot it. I didn't reply. Instead, I took a personal day from work. I opened a blank document. At the top, I typed, "Transfers." For 3 hours, I listed dates and amounts. When I finished, it was 12 pages. I drove to Dollar Tree and bought a black binder. I slid the pages inside plastic sleeves. The binder felt heavier than paper should. Sunday arrived with that thick desert heat that makes asphalt shimmer. Ethan stood in the doorway as I picked up my purse. "You don't have to go," he said. "I do," I replied. "Are you going to give them more money?" I looked at him. No. It was the first time that word didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like oxygen. I parked 3 houses down from my parents' place. In my hand, I carried a grocery bag. Paper plates. Showing up empty-handed loses the argument before it starts. I rang the doorbell. Dad opened it like a principal greeting a student who'd skipped class. Mom sat at the dining table with a calculator and a stack of bills. Daniel lounged on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "Finally," Mom said brightly. "We were just discussing our strategy." Strategy. I placed the binder on the table. Before we discuss strategy, I thought, we're going to discuss history. Dad tapped the calculator like it was a gavel. "With inflation and interest rates," he began, "we need a family approach. Everyone contributes monthly until we stabilize." "Everyone," Daniel echoed, not looking up from his phone. I set the grocery bag on the counter, paper plates slid halfway out. Then I placed the binder in the center of the dining table. It made a heavier sound than I expected. "Before we discuss strategy," I said evenly, "can we review the past 3 years?" Mom blinked. "What's that?" "Receipts." Dad's jaw tightened. "Emily, this isn't the time for accounting games." "It's exactly the time." I opened the binder and turned it toward them. Utilities, groceries, car repairs, rent assistance, a C repair, mortgage shortages. I listed everything I could verify. There may be more. Mom flipped a few pages. Her expression shifted from confusion to irritation. "What money?" she asked. The room went silent. Not thoughtful silence. Not embarrassed silence. Gaslighting silence. "We never received money from you," she continued, closing the binder like it offended her. I felt something inside me go very still. I slid my phone across the table. "Open my banking app. Transfers are labeled. Dates, notes, amounts. If you prefer, I can pull bank statements." Dad pushed the phone back as if it were contaminated. "This is disrespectful." "What's disrespectful," I replied calmly, "is asking me to bring my checkbook while pretending I've never helped you." Daniel finally looked up. "Why are you making this weird?" he said. "It's family." "Yes," I said, "family." I took a breath. My hands were steady. "I've sent over $31,000 since 2020. Mom laughed, sharp and defensive. "31,000? Emily, don't exaggerate." I didn't. Dad leaned forward. "We never asked you to keep track." "I didn't keep track for you," I said. "I kept track for me." Daniel scoffed. "So what, you want a trophy?" I looked at him. "No, I want boundaries." Mom's face hardened. "After everything we've done for you, raised you, supported you?" "I'm not denying that," I said quietly. "But love isn't retroactive billing." Dad's voice rose. "So what do you want?" "I want this to stop." The words felt like stepping off a cliff. No more monthly transfers. No more emergency Venmos. If you need help, you ask respectfully and accept no as an answer. Daniel leaned back, folding his arms. "This is ridiculous." I met Dad's eyes. "Then let him pay the bills." The air snapped. Mom stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly against tile. "How dare you pit siblings against each other?" "I'm not," I said evenly. "You did that years ago." Dad's face flushed. "So you're cutting us off?" "I'm ending a system that's been bleeding me dry." Mom stared at the binder like it was something obscene. "Those were gifts," she said tightly. "You love us." "I do love you," I replied. "And loving you can't mean bankrupting myself." Daniel laughed. That same bright, dismissive sound from Dad's birthday. "Congratulations," he muttered. "You finally found something to hold over us." That one stung. Not because it was true, but because it was close to how they'd rewrite it. I closed the binder slowly. "This isn't revenge," I said. "It's self-preservation." I picked up the paper plates and slid them onto the counter. Then I walked toward the door. "Emily," Mom called after me. "Don't walk away." I turned, hand on the doorknob. "I can," I said softly, "and I am." The desert heat hit me like a wall. The door shut behind me with a final click that sounded like punctuation. My phone started buzzing before I reached my car. By the time I pulled into my condo complex, there were 15 missed calls. Inside, Ethan stood up immediately. "How did it go?" I set the binder on the kitchen island. It's over, I said. Over how? They said they never received money. His eyes widened. They denied it? Yes. He ran a hand through his hair. That's not just denial, that's gaslighting, I finished. We ate spaghetti standing at the counter that night, neither of us tasting it. When I finally checked my phone, there were 52 unread texts. Mom, you're confused. Come back and we'll talk this through. Dad, you owe us respect. Aunt Carol. Money isn't everything, sweetheart. Daniel, do you really think this makes you the hero? I turned off notifications. For the first time in months, I slept 8 full hours. Monday morning, the narrative machine activated. A cousin texted, "Heard you had a meltdown. Everything okay?" My grandmother left a voicemail with 3 minutes of disappointed sighing. Dad posted on Facebook about entitlement and forgetting your roots. Mom shared a quote about ungrateful children with a prayer hands emoji. The story was already rewriting itself. From, we never receive money, to, we never asked for money, to, those were gifts, to, you never said it was difficult. At work, I scanned every page of the binder and backed it up as PDFs. Then I did something small that felt enormous. I opened my banking app. I canceled recurring transfers, utilities, gas, groceries, emergency assistance. The app asked, "Are you sure?" My thumb hovered for half a second. Then I pressed yes. My chest felt hollow and light at the same time. Mom called that evening. Her voice shifted between sobbing and businesslike. "We can start fresh," she said. "Let's agree on something reasonable, maybe $400 monthly." "No," I said. Silence. Dad tried logic. "We're a unit. Everyone contributes." "No." Daniel sent a Venmo request for $350. Rent money. I declined it. He sent a single question mark. I didn't respond. Midweek, Aunt Carol invited me for coffee. Not an ambush, she promised. It was absolutely an ambush. She opened with a perfumed hug and a rehearsed speech about not burning bridges over misunderstandings. "What misunderstanding?" I asked. "You embarrassed your parents. They feel attacked." "They feel attacked by mathematics?" I said. She sighed deeply. "You know your mother worries. She says you never mention keeping track. So gratitude only counts if it's undocumented?" "You're being cruel," she said. "I'm being accurate." I paid for my own coffee and left. By Friday, the family group chat pinged. Family meeting. Sunday, 5 p.m. I typed, "I won't be there," and sent it before fear could edit me. Mom replied instantly, "You think you're better than us now." Dad added, "Don't forget who raised you." Daniel, "You've always been jealous. It's sad." I muted the chat. That night, Ethan stood beside me at the kitchen counter. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly. I nodded. But beneath the steadiness, something else stirred. Grief. Because cutting off money was easy compared to cutting off illusion. And illusions don't go quietly. I expected anger. What I didn't expect was marketing. By Monday afternoon, my mother's Facebook post had 84 reactions. Raising children is heartbreaking when they forget your sacrifices. Some people think everything is about money. The comments rolled in like sympathy donations. Praying for you. Kids these days don't understand loyalty. Stay strong, Mama. Daniel posted an Instagram story that same night. New designer sneakers. Perfect lighting. Caption, self-made. I stared at it for a long time. Self-made. I almost admired the audacity. At work, my phone buzzed every hour. Second cousins, old neighbors, even Dad's contractor buddy's wife. "Your parents are under tremendous stress," she began carefully. "Could you possibly—" "No," I said. "You didn't let me finish." I didn't need to. There was a long pause on the other end. No felt different now. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't dramatic. It was clean. At home, Ethan watched the escalation unfold with visible tension. One evening, he stood at the sink, hands braced against the counter. "They're dragging your name publicly," he said. "This is getting ugly." "I know. Maybe you should send one clear message, just to shut it down." "I tried clarity," I replied. "They called it disrespect." He hesitated, then said something that made the air shift. "I almost sent your dad money." I turned slowly. "What?" "Just $200, he said quickly. I thought, if it calmed things down, maybe this wouldn't spiral. I stared at him. "You were going to pay them?" "I didn't," he said. "But I thought about it." My voice stayed calm. "If you rescue them," I said carefully, "you're undoing me." He swallowed. "I just hate seeing you attacked." "I hate being erased," I replied. We stood there in silence. Then he nodded. "You're right," he said. "I won't interfere." That moment scared me more than the Facebook posts, because it showed how far the system reached. It didn't just drain me. It tried to recruit anyone close to me. That week, I set up automatic transfers. The same dates, the same amounts, but this time into my own savings account. On the first of the month, $450 moved into my future. I watched the confirmation notification appear. It felt like reclaiming oxygen. I booked the dental cleaning I'd postponed twice. I bought organic strawberries without calculating someone else's electric bill in my head. I called a therapist. I need help distinguishing guilt from responsibility, I told her. She didn't sound surprised. That's work I do frequently, she said. Jogging became my ritual. 3 miles, then 4. Each step felt like shaking loose an old narrative. On the third Sunday, the day I used to send gas money, I drove past my parents' house. Old habits don't die, they haunt. I parked around the corner. Through the dining room window, I saw them at the table. My chair was empty. Loss and relief twisted together inside my chest. That's grief, I realized. Not for money. For the version of family I tried to buy. A week later, I received an email from a collections agency, addressed to my parents, sent to me because my address was still attached to an old account Daniel had used. Past due, $287. A year ago, I would have paid it without blinking. Instead, I forwarded it. Subject line, "This belongs to you." Mom replied within minutes. "Why are you being so cold?" I typed 3 responses, deleted them, closed my laptop, went for a run. When I came back, there was another email. From Daniel. Subject, "Get real." Body, "We all know you enjoy holding this over us. You always wanted to be the hero. Congratulations. You win." I stared at the screen. Anger arrived finally. Not loud, not explosive. Sharp, clean, I replied with one sentence. "I wanted to be your sister." He didn't respond. That night, I made a rule that sounds small but changed everything. I will not check my banking app after 9 p.m. There is nothing in those numbers that can heal my family. At 9:01, I placed my phone across the room. I slept. 2 weeks passed. The calls slowed. The posts grew subtler. Mom sent a photo of their cat, Muffin. No caption. Dad texted, "Hope work is good." No mention of money. No acknowledgement of the past. Ethan and I had dinner on the balcony one evening. The air was warm. "You seem lighter," he said. "I am," I replied. "And sad," he added gently. "Yes, because boundaries aren't just fences. They're funerals. We're burying illusions." But I was done performing. Done explaining myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. Done financing denial. The campaign didn't stop completely. It just lost momentum. And systems only run as long as someone powers them. I had unplugged. The silence after Daniel's email stretched longer than I expected. No comeback, no sarcasm, no emoji. Just nothing. For years, I had measured my worth in responsiveness, in how quickly I could fix, transfer, solve. Silence used to feel like failure. Now it felt like space. 3 weeks after the confrontation, something unexpected happened. Dad called. Not a voicemail, not a group chat ping. An actual call. I let it ring once. Twice. On the third ring, I answered. "Hi." His voice sounded older somehow. "Hey, Emily." No kiddo. No dramatic sigh. Just my name. We both paused, like strangers trying to remember shared language. "I looked at the binder," he said finally. I didn't respond. I didn't realize it added up like that. There it was. Not an apology. But not denial either. "Numbers tend to add up," I said quietly. He exhaled through his nose, a sound halfway between frustration and humility. "Your mom and we got used to you handling things." I know. That wasn't fair. It wasn't the sweeping acknowledgement I once fantasized about, but it was the first crack in the narrative. "Daniel's picking up more shifts at the gym," Dad added quickly, like it mattered. "Good," I said. Another pause. "You're still coming for Thanksgiving?" he asked. The question hung heavy. Old Emily would have said yes immediately. Reliable. Practical. Keep the peace. New Emily took a breath. "I'll think about it." He didn't argue. "Okay." When we hung up, I sat very still. It wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't closure. But it wasn't gaslighting either. That night, Ethan found me at the kitchen counter again. But this time, I wasn't staring at my phone. I was cooking salmon. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "And I meant it. I'm proud of you," he said again. I looked at him carefully. "Thank you for not stepping in." He nodded. "I almost did," he admitted, "because I thought love meant smoothing things over." "It doesn't," I said softly. "Sometimes love means letting people feel the consequences." We ate dinner without tension. That felt new. In therapy, I said something out loud that surprised me. I think I confused being needed with being loved. My therapist nodded gently. That's a common survival skill in high-functioning families. Survival skill, not personality trait, not destiny. Skill. And skills can be unlearned. Over the next month, practical changes became permanent. Savings grew. My emergency fund crossed 5 digits for the first time. I booked a weekend trip with Ethan to San Diego, the one I'd skipped years earlier. I didn't cancel it. I didn't send $250 at 2 p.m. for urgent rent assistance. I watched the ocean instead. Thanksgiving came. I did go. But differently. I brought a pie. Not paper plates. When Mom started talking about tight months, I listened. I didn't reach for my phone. When Daniel mentioned a big opportunity, I smiled. I didn't offer gas money. It was awkward. It was quiet. But it wasn't performative. At one point, Mom looked at me across the table. "You seem different," she said. "I am," I replied. There was no accusation in her voice, just observation. After dinner, Daniel followed me onto the porch. The same porch where the light flickered months ago. "I didn't know it was that much," he said. "I know." He shoved his hands into his pockets. "I got used to you fixing things." "I know." He hesitated. "I shouldn't have said that stuff about you wanting to be the hero." I looked at him. "I didn't want to be the hero," I said. "I wanted to be your sister." For a moment, he actually looked ashamed. "I guess I didn't make that easy." "No," I said gently. "You didn't." We didn't hug. We didn't cry. But something shifted. Not back to what it was. Forward into something less dependent. When I got home that night, I opened my closet. The binder sat on the top shelf. I pulled it down. Flipped through a few pages. $200. $380. $750. Proof. Not of their failure. Of my clarity. I slid it back into place. It's not a trophy. It's not a weapon. It's a record. Proof that I wasn't dramatic. Proof that I wasn't imagining the system. Here's what I know now. I can love my family without financing their denial. I can be reliable without being a resource. I can say no without attaching a paragraph of justification. I don't owe anyone my exhaustion. I don't owe anyone my savings. I don't owe anyone the version of myself that makes their life easier at the expense of my own. Mom still texts occasionally. Photos of Muffin. Dad asks about work. Daniel sends gym selfies with neutral captions. We're not healed, but we're real. And that's enough. If I could go back to 22-year-old Emily, standing in that Tempe apartment, believing love required payment, I'd tell her one thing. Love isn't a bill you pay to stay in the family. And here's the promise I've made to myself, simple and unbreakable. I will never again let anyone transform my love into their invoice.